Okay, so this comes from chapter 4 on Apollo Health. And this talks about what toxins are. And they call them dementogens. Dementogens. And dementogens are metals, organic chemicals, and biotoxins. One of the things that we do in the program is we really start to pay attention to chemicals. For instance, I clean my house with baking soda and vinegar. I'm going to click on this. How to quantify your toxic load. The thing that everyone should know is how many metals they have in their body. Now, we heard a while back that aluminum is really, really bad for the brain. Stop cooking with aluminum cookware. Cook with cast iron and stainless steel pans. Throw everything else out. You don't want any aluminum. And how you know whether or not your pots are aluminum or whether they're stainless steel is when you tap on stainless steel, it makes a singing sound. And aluminum goes thud, right? So you just don't want any pans that are aluminum or have any kind of coating on them, because when that coating comes off, it ends up in your food. It ends up in your food, it ends up in your body. We just, all that nonstick stuff that we were encouraged to use over the years was really, really bad for us. One way to find out whether or not you have any heavy metals is to go to Quicksilver. Quicksilver Scientific, I love that company. I think everybody should check out Quicksilver Scientific and get their mercury test. Uses your blood, your hair, and your urine to find out what your mercury load is. When I retest this time, I will go with this Quicksilver mercury test. I got my test from a company called Great Plains, I think. And I found that I had higher than healthy mercury levels. And I tried to get rid of some of those metals with DMSA, and it was difficult for me because I didn't really have the capacity to move them out of my body. So they just kind of shifted, and I was getting rashes on my skin because it was all trying to move out through my skin because it couldn't move out through my liver and my bowels. So now I'm trying a gentler approach, and I'm taking Mercurius subtilis, which is a homeopathic remedy, and I'm gently trying to release metals with that. And I'm going to try that for a few months, and then I'm going to redo the mercury test to see how I'm doing getting rid of the mercury. But I'm bringing it down to a safe level.
Could you repeat that, the homeopathic?
Mercurius subtilis. And if you just Google homeopathy for mercury, it'll come up, Mercurius subtilis. And I ordered some from Germany that's sugar-free because it's really hard to get homeopathy here in America that doesn't have sugar in it. So I was able to find some in Germany, so it's going to take a month to get here, but I'm excited to get some Mercurius subtilis in a liquid form that doesn't have any sugar in it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And homeopathy is very popular in Germany, so there's a lot more great stuff available there than there is here. So the other things that we have to pay attention to are pharmaceuticals. I would Google if you're taking any medicine prescribed by a pharmaceutical company. I want you to Google it to see if it's killing your gut bacteria. So pharmaceuticals, pesticides, packaged foods, particularly foods that are packed in plastic. If you're eating fish from the ocean, you could be getting microplastics. Household products and environmental pollution. Environmental pollution is everywhere. I know there's pollution in this creek that's behind my house. It's just people in my neighborhood are using Roundup and stuff like that. All that's going to end up in the creek. The weather, with all good intention, they're seeding our clouds to try to make more clouds because the earth has got 30% less clouds than it had 20 years ago. So they're trying to make more clouds, and they're making those clouds with chemicals. So when it rains, we get those chemicals. We live in a chemical environment. There's no way to avoid it. Here in California, we grow most of the food for the United States, at least for the Western United States. And most of the growers here are growing with pesticides. I'm careful to get organic food from farmers that I trust. And I occasionally can't get down there, and then I rely on, say, Costco for organic food. And I know any organic food I get at Costco is really only 90% organic because that's all they have to do to get that label. And I know that they're going to cheat if they can. For instance, one of the companies that touts themselves to be organic out in the Central Valley, a very popular organic strawberry grower, was watering their fields with the water that they were using that was left over from fracking. Okay. So it might have started with organic soil, and it might have been an organic plant, and then they fed it toxic water. So
Wow.
it's just stuff like that. If you don't know who's growing your strawberries, where I get my strawberries, they would never consciously water their strawberries with toxic water. But we live in a toxic world. There's good news at the end of this, so just stay tuned. So biotoxins are things like mold. If there's mold in your house, you're likely breathing it, and your sinuses are really close to your brain. Black mold in particular is people who are breathing black mold. They can take a blood test from you and see mold in your body. So for me, I took a test for mold, and I haven't been breathing in any mold, but I've been ingesting mold from products that naturally grow mold on them, like coffee and nuts and beans and all of the dried foods and dried fruits and things like that have a propensity to have some mold grow on them in the process of them drying. And so I do encourage everybody who gets any kind of nut butters to check online to see whether or not that's been independently tested by a third party for mold. And I recently found in my research that Trader Joe's organic almond butter tests with absolutely no mold. So that's really good news because I love almond butter. When biotoxin illness becomes chronic, sometimes exposure to biotoxins such as mold or tick bites or any kind of dinoflagellates, waterborne toxins can result in an inflammatory state. CIRS is a chronic activation of an innate immune system leading to inflammation of the brain and the organs. Unlike the adaptive immunity we acquire after disease exposure, the innate immune system is a evolutionary, older, nonspecific, and quickly responds with physical, chemical, and cellular defenses against any pathogen. A dominant clinical feature of CIRS is the common cognitive complaints by patients, including memory loss, mood disorders, brain function, loss of executive function, and fatigue. Dr. Bredesen has found that CIRS can lead to a distinct form of cognitive decline, typically affecting people as early as their late 40s and to their early 60s, and often people like me who are non-APOE with cognitive defects other than memory loss, such as difficulty with math, speech, decision-making and planning, word finding, face recognition. It's often accompanied by depression. Because one can experience a multitude of symptoms, it's often misdiagnosed as depression, anxiety, or somatization, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I would, if anybody has fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, they really should get tested for biotoxins. Fortunately, I do not have any. I have not had any tick bites, and my avid hiker friends, I always caution them if they've had a tick bite to get a test. And if you have these kind of symptoms, you really need to be working with a functional medicine doctor. It's not, they can really make some headway with these kinds of things. So I can tell you some of the things that I'm doing to help with my toxins, and I'm going to stop sharing now. So,
Question? You mentioned a test for mold. What specifically?
There's an ERMI test, ERMI. It costs about $300, and they have you take a tissue that they send you, and you dust all around your house, and you send it to them, and they tell you whether or not there is any mold in your dust.
Thank you. Cool. Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. And if you want to test to see whether you have internal mold, and I'd like to actually have some confirmation. I know that my mold is better. I can tell by the way I'm digesting that the mold in my body is better. So how I have gotten rid of the mold is I take a product called a psyllium husk. Every night before I go to bed, I take about 2 tablespoons of a psyllium husk in water. And a psyllium husk helps to, as it goes through your digestive system, when it's in your intestines, it absorbs toxins and pulls it out. So that's been really, really helpful. And for me, the reason why I was getting more toxins than other people is I've always been a person who doesn't sweat. Like if I go in a hot sauna, most people are just absolutely dripping in a hot sauna. I sweat a little bit. If I go and work out, I sweat a little bit. I just get hot. I don't sweat. And one of the reasons why my body doesn't detox very well is because I don't methylate vitamin B. Vitamin B is what helps zinc in your body keep your body detoxing, sweeping out the cells that don't need to be there. We're always creating new blood cells. Hopefully, we're always creating new blood cells. And so I take that methylated vitamin B to help my body absorb zinc. And so the the folate and the vitamin B can do a better job of detoxing in my body. And I'm certainly feeling like I'm detoxing better, and my cognitive scores are showing that I'm detoxing better. So I think that that's working. So I take 2 supplements. One of the things that functional medicine doctors check and the medicine doctors check is whether or not your copper and your zinc are in balance. If you have too much copper and not enough zinc, you're heavy in metal in your body. Zinc is what keeps copper in check. And if you don't have enough zinc, and most people don't take zinc, so they don't get enough zinc, then your copper gets out of control. So when I first came into the program, my copper was way higher than my zinc. So I take a zinc supplement now, and I probably take a little more zinc than the average person as I'm bringing my zinc up. And as I'm bringing my zinc up and getting my vitamin B's built up in my body, I'm doing a much better job of detoxifying. I'm taking that homeopathy to gently remove heavy metals from mercury from my body. And I did have a whole mouthful when I was a kid of amalgam fillings that have come out. If you still have any of those, get them out.
I got mine out. How much zinc do you take now?
I take 30 milligrams of zinc picolate. Pincolate.
Pinko, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Zinc picolate. I tried taking other kinds of zinc, and you have to take it with food because 30 milligrams is a lot. And let me just get that window gone. Yeah, so I don't it upsets my stomach a little bit. So does potassium. So I have to make sure I take my morning. So I'm finding that if I take my vitamins now with food, I'm okay. And I found the ones I can take that don't irritate me. Being naturally sensitive in all kinds of ways.